Hey guys, Driftor here. Today I've got an Apex Legends guide for you on the Legend Wraith, which normally I do pretty detailed guides, but for this one I think it would be better set as a Wraith overview because she is by far the most popular character in the game, is played at the highest level by the most competitive people, has the most complicated kit in the game with the most unique interactions with other characters and items in the game and her kit, and by far the most exploits. So there is a huge skill ceiling and a lot of complicated stuff and nuances with Wraith. I could probably do about 4 different guides on Wraith, but for today I just want to cover the important stuff. Also, I'm currently streaming right now from Mixer again at CWL Fort Worth. If you want to click the link down there in the description, I'll be doing it a couple hours after this video's out, so I hope to see some of you stopping by. And let's talk about Wraith's passive. Her passive is among the most useful in Apex Legends, and it's a very simple one. She just talks to you, the player, while you're playing the game, whenever an enemy looks at you. If somebody's looking at you, if you've been spotted, she will let you know with a big loud audio cue. You can turn on subtitles as well. So you always know if you're being targeted, if somebody's watching you from range, or if your sneaking stealth has completely failed, if they've seen you through the bush. It can only trigger once every 10 seconds, so there are little pauses. It can't constantly ping and annoy you. As far as I'm aware, it can trigger at absolutely any range as long as the character's looking at you, and sometimes even if the enemy doesn't notice you themselves. Sometimes if they're just looking in your general direction and they don't see you, it'll still ping and let you know that you're in somebody's line of sight. However, it does rarely trigger on kind of a scan by. If you're just like swiping left and right and you don't really focus on the Wraith, you won't trigger her ability. There is some kind of watching time requirement, but it's not very long. It pops pretty quickly. You can also press a button on console or PC, depending on your control scheme, to warn your teammates about this up to 6 seconds after the initial voice line. This is incredibly useful if you're not in a party. Obviously, if you're in a party, if you're in Discord, or if you're in game chat or something, it's much easier to just tell your teammates that somebody's looking at you, but you can hit the button. Occasionally, Wraith will give you some additional information, such as a sniper has eyes on me, which is very useful. Let you know you might get popped by a Kraber sometime soon. And overall, this passive is just insanely useful. It's kind of like having a permanent radar always on, Sixth Sense from Call of Duty, always getting information about the enemy team. It makes it hard for people to sneak up on you or kind of stalk you down. It makes it hard for Bloodhound to hunt you without you knowing about it at least. And it's just a really good, easy to understand informational tool, and is one of the best passives in the game. Moving along, let's talk about her quick ability, which is called Into the Void. However, when you're playing the game, most of your teammates will call it Reaper, Disappeared, Invisible, Untargetable, or Void Walk is my personal favorite one. It's it rolls off the tongue a little bit better there. When activated, you become untargetable for 3 seconds. It's not a long time, but it does give you enough time to reposition yourself. There is about a half-second wind-up between when you hit the button and when you actually become untargetable, so please do it early. This is my biggest mistake with not only Wraith, but also playing Reaper and other characters that have untargetability in various games. I like to try to wait to the very last, most critical, most clutch, close moment, and I screw it up all the time. I just have to remind myself and you to pop it early, or you may not get a chance to pop it at all. So while you're untargetable, this will also protect you from damage from the zone, caustic gas. If you've been set on fire by a grenade, you go untargetable, you don't take the burn during that time, or airstrikes that are going off around you. So you can avoid a lot of what I will call environmental damage. And a lot of people do use it in really like critical moments in the last couple circles. Like they'll void walk outside the zone and come back in without taking a whole lot of damage. Very good strategy there. During this time, you do get a minor 10% movement speed buff, so you can move a little bit faster, and the cooldown on the ability is 20 seconds. That's one of the faster quick ability cooldowns, and it's up pretty often. However, in my opinion, it's very dangerous to spam. If you watch some of the more competitive people play, you'll see them just throwing this ability out willy-nilly just because they want the speed boost. That's because it's Shroud or Mendo or Dizzy or whatever, and they can just fight people in aim. But, you know, us mortal beings, us peasants down here that don't have aimbots built into our arms, would probably like to have some safe ability ready to use instead of just using it aggressively. While you're in this untargetable mode, you cannot see enemies. You will see like random bodies and images and stuff flash around your screen, which is also distorted, but none of those indicate where enemies are. It's just kind of random noise. So you can't see enemies, you can't open doors, you can't take zip lines, you can't go up and down balloons, you can't loot, you can't heal, you can't take your own portals or an enemy wraith portal. There's no portaling whatsoever, but you can climb and slide. So climbing and sliding, I think, are going to be your #1 tools to confuse enemies and have a successful escape. Speaking of enemies, it's important to remember that enemies can see you in this ability, not very clearly. You leave a thin blue streak in the direction that you're traveling, so they can still chase you down, and smart, good enemies won't let you get away easily. Most Wraith exploits have something to do with either this ability or her ultimate, and there's a lot of goofy, very unique interactions that can cause bugs that I'm not going to get into because I know Respawn is constantly working on them. And there's a lot of different uses for this ability. You can use it to, again, mitigate damage. You can use it to escape. You can use it to engage on people sometimes. Personally, I think it makes for poor engages because it gets rid of your option to disengage, and she makes some noise when she pops out. I think the best escapes that happen with her Into the Void or Void Walk ability are escapes that happen at a distance where the enemy isn't truly up in your face and able to chase you easily through smoke, or more importantly, along a confusing path. While you're in this mode, there's a lot of things you can't do, but you can climb, you can double back straight through your own little blue trail and be confusing, you can go under houses, you can slide really far, you can run through smoke, you can jump over and back and over walls and just really confuse enemies. You can like I see Niku do this sometimes, like over back over the wall, and then he'll stand on the wall corner and shoot them while they're in their climbing animation. So do something creative, something confusing. Don't just run in a straight line. Don't just run into open, because that's not really going to help you. And this ability is always super useful because it just means you have an ace up your sleeve. And mid gunfight, you can just decide, you know what, I don't want to be here. This is too scary for me. I'm in a bad neighborhood. I'm going to reposition myself over to Skulltown or something. See you later. And just blip, you're untargetable, and you have that opportunity to slip away. Wraith's ultimate is called Dimensional Rift, or her portals. They're probably the most iconic part of the character. However, I don't think that they're portals much like the ones in the game Portal, where you can throw objects back and forth and you can go through kind of freely. They're a lot like her quick ability, but as soon as you touch them, it automatically takes you to a new location. The Portal Ultimate has a quick charge time of 150 seconds, so it's open pretty often, and when you place it, they last for a very long 60 seconds. When you place those portals, they're there for a long time, so you can use them many times mid-fight and do a lot of very neat stuff with it. How this ability works is when activated, Wraith places a portal wherever in the world she's standing, and also puts away her guns and holds her hand out so she can't fight. You can't shoot people while you're handling your portals. You do get a huge, just absolutely insane 110% movement speed buff during this time as well, which is more than twice as fast as usual. You can use your quick ability and Void Walk during this for another 10% movement speed and take it up to 120% if you want to. And I know a lot of players do this. They like to pop it and get that extra distance for an even better engage and an even longer portal. However, personally, I don't like to do it. I don't think that the 10% movement speed is worth it, and I like having that ability ready to save my bacon when I get scared. When you reactivate the ability, or when time runs out, Wraith will leave another portal that any player can take to travel between the 2 points and be untargetable. This also means that enemies can take your portal or camp them or chase you through them or do anything with them, so do keep in mind it's not just for your team. They're also very highly visible, they're pingable, and enemies will come check it out, and aggressive players like me do kind of like to go through portals just to see if there's a trap or friends on the other side. Elevation can be nice and confusing too. There's no elevation cap, high or low, so if you start off on top of, say, cascades and teleport to the bottom, you've got an easy up and down that doesn't involve zip lines, which can also confuse enemies. There are many strategies for use of the portals, but by far the most common one is an engage. It would basically work like this. You, as the forward scout Wraith, slam down your entry portal, you use your double movement speed to rush in, get close, and then open up the exit portal and bring your whole team at once with you for a big aggressive flank. That's what a lot of people do, that's what I do, and it's probably the best thing to do with it. However, there's so many other things you can do. You can use them to escape people, just literally an escape portal. You can use the pre-fight safety portals, which allows you to teleport from cover to cover and in a position where enemies may not see the portals. You can use the portals to take less zone damage if you were revive a friend in the zone, or if you know you have to go back in to loot, you can just mitigate some of that damage. You can help friends get back to their loot faster, just so they don't waste time after respawn. You can, this is one that I do pretty commonly, is I'll leave a portal somewhere behind cover, and I will go grab my friend's banners, pop the portal, and go back in really quick so I don't have to fight people and I can revive them. You can use this just to help slow teammates. If you've got somebody on your team that's slow, that likes to drag, that can't catch up with you, this will help them catch up significantly. And sometimes just when you need a speed boost, like when you need to go fast, yeah, this can be really, really useful when you just gotta be Sonic. Personally, I prefer the simpler ones. I prefer the engage portals or the pre-flight safety portals. Anything else I'm doing in a unique situation or out of desperation. I think that the pre-flight safety or the engage portals will also work better for most of you. And as a heads up, I do prefer to hide the entrance near cover, behind cover, in a place where I don't think it can be easily seen, in a place where I don't think enemies are going to go to very easily. That means that I can teleport from one location to another without them knowing exactly where I'm going, or knowing that I've teleported at all. They might just think I'm camping behind a rock. I really don't think it's a good idea to leave the portals just kind of out in the open, because wide open portals are just temptations for unwanted visitors. There's a couple of more fun tactics you can do as well. You used to be able to kill people by closing a door on the portal, but I think Respawn fixed that. You can put one end facing a cliff edge and then try to bait the enemy team into taking it and running off the edge, which is really funny. You can bait the enemy team into ambushes, like throwing sticky grenades at the base of a portal when they come through. You can bait them into caustic traps or just into an ambush for your team. There's a lot of like fun trolly things you can do with it, but you'll need good team coordination for it. Wraith's primary job in Apex Legends, her primary role in your team, is to give your team great engages while maintaining a lot of self-peel. Self-peel coming more from the League of Legends community, which is self-disengage, self-reliance, that sort of thing. A good Wraith player should be aggressive. Your Wraith should be your forward scout that's pretty much always pushing the fight, because she can leave portals that can take the rest of the team in or out of the fight. And a good Wraith player should also be self-sufficient. This should be the person that you don't have to pick up a whole lot, a person that can use the portals and the void walk to escape trouble as needed, and also a person that's willing to be considerate of the team, because in order to get the most utility off the character, you have to use the dimensional rift for big team plays, especially later in the game. Guys, that is all for this video. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. This is the last character guide in Apex Legends until, of course, another legend comes out, and then I'll be doing that. And no vaccine jokes this time, because I couldn't write one that actually fit with this character's abilities. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Driftor out.